Hello, I am Tanya Gerard, your congruency coach, and this is Conversations on Congruency with an awesome guest today. Say hi to Mandy Strait. Mandy, thank you so much for being here. Mandy is amazing, and you need to know that this conversation has been meant to happen for like a year and a half, and we're finally on screen together.
Yay, I'm so excited. Yeah, it has. It's time.
Yes, good things come to all those who wait, right? Well, Mandy is an ontological explorer and designer of all interiors, life, home, and reality. Her TED Talk on visual mantra is just the beginning of her exploration into how we remember who we are and what we love. Oh, we're so talking about this. She's a lover of brain food, glimpser of infinity, and journeyer of curiosity. Thank you again for being here.
Yes. Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. We're gonna have so much to talk about. It's gonna be hard to stop, I think.
Yes. Because, okay, so here's the context for everybody who's watching. The congruency system is a set of skills and tools that help you to create sustainable well-being. And the key word here is sustainable, because we are so over like Band-Aids, right, Mandy? Like,
yes, the quick fix. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
we're more mature than that. Yeah.
Yes, and just thinking that you can change your whole life in 3 months, honestly, is not realistic or attainable. Mm-hmm. Big changes happen through small changes that slowly but steadily shape a new reality for your life.
Yep, so true.
Yeah, so there's like a set that I call Ecology of WellBeing in my congruency system. And one main element of this ecology is space. Because I am convinced that the place that surrounds us, the place where we are set in the world, has an impact on our well-being. Mm-hmm. Just as when we feel joyful, when we feel inspired and hopeful and peaceful, we impact our space, right?
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm very curious, Manny, to hear what are your thoughts about space in general.
Well, I think you said it very well, in that our spaces just have a huge effect on us, and really more than we even realize. You know, you said in the intro, I have a TED Talk about visual mantra, and I talk about the effect that spaces have on us. But one thing that I actually forgot or didn't have time to mention in my TED Talk is that when we go out into the world, other people are using space to influence us. Mm-hmm. Kind of against our will, right? I mean, you go to McDonald's and they're using colors and music and temperature to make you move faster, eat faster, come in, spend money, and leave. Yeah. You know, you go to an expensive restaurant and they use the same things in a different way to make you stay longer, spend more money, right? And have a different kind of experience. So we're being manipulated, sometimes for good, and sometimes maybe not so good. And sometimes we're accepting that manipulation when we go to a fancier restaurant. Maybe that's something we're like buying into, right? Mm-hmm. But we are being manipulated by spaces all the time. What we aren't doing is using that to our advantage and making tools in our own spaces that can affect us in the way that we want to be affected. Like, let's start manipulating ourselves to be that thing that we're working toward being. And that's something that I think is highly overlooked, in that, oh yeah, you know, my space is important. But even business people know how important space is when they're creating space for somebody else to spend money. And then I think a lot of times we go home and we forget that it still works the same on our brain.
Yeah, that is true. Mandy, do you think that space can help us or block us from finding ourselves?
Oh, absolutely.
Discovering who we are.
Well, and I think actually a good example that comes to mind is have you ever had a thing in your space that like all of a sudden you realize, holy cow, I've had that thing. Like, I used to have this chair that was my great uncle's chair. And I was like, you know, oh, I'm keeping that around because it was my great uncle's, and I'm keeping it because it's like, you know, a memory of him, which I didn't even know him that well. My mom gave it to me. Like, I don't know what I'm thinking, right? But it's been there and it's taking up space. And all of a sudden I was like, I don't even like this thing. It's like holding me back. I'm mentally telling myself I have to hold on to this person that I have no emotional ties to. And I'm holding myself back because it's taking up mental space, emotional space, physical space in my home, for something that doesn't further where I'm going, right? And it really doesn't even further my past. I think it's very valuable to have things from our past that mean something to us, that we can cherish and say, yes, that helped me get where I am today. But that chair was not one of them. And I kept letting it take up space, and it's just not worth it, you know, and it takes up mental energy and effort to have things in our space. And we want to make sure that that mental energy and effort that it's taking up is leading us where we want to go.
Yes, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm also I'm very into pragmatism in the way that I need things to have a purpose. Mm-hmm. So when I practice something, I practice it with a purpose, even if it's having fun, right?
I was going to say, yep, and I knew you meant that. But yeah, having fun because it's beautiful, because I look at it and I smile. That's a good enough purpose, but it's serving a purpose, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So when and as a mom, it has been quite difficult to share the house with two little persons who are discovering, like, what does owning things mean, right? And they have like this box of toys, and I'm just like, okay, patience. And I'm, you know, I'm holding space for them in a very literal way, for them to learn how to communicate with their space and with their belongings and with all these surroundings, with all these objects that surround them, right?
It's true. Yeah. And you know, you just said it, and I have just gotten it in a way that's even more concrete than I've gotten it before. You just said, I'm holding space. We hold space for people all the time. And what are we literally holding space for in our homes that is not what we want to be holding space for? Like, I wouldn't hold space for, you know, I don't know, I can't think of a really good example, but I wouldn't hold space for someone who, to me, felt emotionally toxic. Or I wouldn't hold space for someone who just has zero to do with my life and my passion. And, you know, I'm not going to hold space for that in my calendar, in my mental state, in my emotional state. And why would I be holding space for that in my home, right? Like, holding space is such a real way to say that. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah. And I love that you introduce yourself as an ontological explorer and designer, because I approach ontologic language. So my motto is, I create as I speak, right? So as we speak, as we name, we create reality. We're not describing a reality. We are making it happen through our language. Yeah. And what I understand from your introduction is exactly that. Like, as you explore your space, as you design your surroundings, you are creating possibilities or not. Right?
No, exactly. And exactly what you just said, in that to speak it, we're taking something that's not real. You know, it's sort of this, it's a thought and it's an emotion and all of that. And in speaking, we're giving it form of some sort, right? And in our space, we're giving things even more form than that. We're making them even more concrete than that, because words aren't concrete quite, right? Like, they have shape, but they're not concrete. And when we take and put color, you know, I put this color on the wall, I choose this chair over here, that's me choosing a concrete representation of something that I'm bringing in or holding space for. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. And also, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking of proxemic, you know, that part of communication, that communication science that observes and studies the interaction between bodies and space. Like, when you're talking with somebody and you're close, or when you're talking with somebody and you have a table between you, it's like a whole different dynamic in your interaction.
Yep.
And we have been talking, and I love how you describe holding space, like the objects that surround you, and also like what space you occupy by
Yeah.
yourself and within yourself, right?
Yep.
What
Yeah,
are your
and
thoughts
how
about
I think there are a number of things in what you just said. Like one of which is when you're setting up your home as far as layout, I mean, on a very concrete, not super fun to talk about level, you've got to pick your layout. And if you're setting up a layout that doesn't facilitate close personal conversation, when are you going to have that?
Yes.
If you desire to have close personal connections and, like say you're single, you're looking for your person and your home doesn't have a place where you could bring a person back and have a cozy little moment together, you're not calling that in. You haven't made space for that kind of interaction in your life, right? And so you can, just like you can call it in, you can also create a vacuum. The whole Marie Kondo thing with purging is beautiful right now, because in making space for something, you're very concretely making space. And if there's nothing there, what could you fill that with? It's full of possibility right now. You could fill it with this person you want in your life. You could fill it with, quality time with your kids. You could fill it with all of these things. And if you're facilitating that with how you have your space, then that's what you're making space for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is beautiful. And also I'm thinking, like, sometimes there's an empty space and it's okay. Like, it's okay if you don't know what to do with that space.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think that it can be a really beautiful thing. I've had a couple clients in the last year who have said, I'm going to buy this thing now because we've talked about it and what it's going to help with the space and whatnot. And then I'm just going to wait. And I'm going to see how I live with the space after that new thing is there. And then I'll live with it for a few months and I'll give you a call back and we'll reassess and say, how did that change the balance? How did that change the function? And what do we need to do now that I've lived in it? What do we need to do? So it does not have to be like, like you said at the beginning, it's not a Band-Aid. It's not a quick fix. It's not I went and spent thousands and thousands of dollars and did it all at once and my life is better. It really is better if you do these little steps where you're reassessing and you're like, how's this affecting me? How can I shift it? Right?
Yeah.
And it's really valuable too to understand and not make ourselves wrong for the fact that I bought this pillow 2 years ago and now I don't like it. That's not a fail. That doesn't mean you failed at buying the right pillow. That means 2 years ago, this served something for you. The pattern, the colors, whatever, gave you something, and you don't need that anymore. That's beautiful. That's growth.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I love how you say it. And it's so important to honor our own evolution, right?
Yes.
What made so much sense in the past might not even be important now. And that's fine. And something that you're like considering life-changing, essential in this moment of your life, maybe in 10 years, you won't even remember about it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Purpose, and you don't have to let it hold space anymore in your consciousness. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was thinking about two things while I was listening to you. One of them is, yes, I agree. I feel we live in a culture of busyness and just, like trailblazing towards stuff. And I try to remind my clients that it is okay to wait.
Yeah.
To make a decision.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, immediate decisions are really rare when, if somebody's life is in a line. Yes, you need to make a decision and act upon it. But many of our life decisions are worth just waiting and pondering, as you say, trying it, leaving it. Always this idea of trying on the clothes, right? Like, okay, so maybe I want this for my future. Maybe this is what my well-being looks like. And I try it on for a few months. And then I discovered that, no, it's kind of tight,
Exactly. And how would you know if you don't try it on?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I love that part. And also, and for the, when people share houses, when couples share houses, when families share houses,
Mhm.
my question is always, do you have a space for yourself?
Yes. Oh my God, it's so important. Yes.
Right? Because if
Yeah.
like that's your whole, you are living your life, you
Mhm.
inside yourself, right?
Right.
If you don't have the space and the time to self-reflect, to connect
Yeah.
with yourself and check in, like, how am I doing? And I feel that this commitment and this joy of connecting with yourself needs
Yeah.
to be represented in a space.
It's true. Yeah. And I mean, just like we were saying, holding space, we have to hold space for ourselves. You know, it doesn't do us any good to give and give and give and, you know, give our space, give our time, give our emotions, all of that to others if we have no space for ourselves. And it's so valuable. Oh my gosh, to give space. And I love what you said about sitting with the, if somebody told me, it was what does he call him? He's a theta healer, and I worked with him a little bit, and I actually think it would be valuable for me to go back and work with him a little more now. But he said something like, if it doesn't have to be a yes or a no, sometimes it's I don't have an answer yet, and that is just as powerful, to allow yourself to say, I'm going to continue asking the question, but I don't need an answer. And planting the seed of the question is enough that, you know, our interior is going to keep figuring it out. And like, I don't know, I picture like, you know, the sort of steampunk cog machine where it's like click, 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 you know, and it takes time for all those pieces to fit together. And if we're rushing it, it's okay to move without knowing. It's okay to move before we're ready, but don't rush the answer. If the answer is, I don't know yet, I'll do this right now, that's more valuable than saying, no, I have an answer when you don't.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. My grandmother used to say, the water won't boil faster because
Yeah.
you're looking at it, right?
Yeah. It's so funny we're talking about this. Just literally just on my run this morning, I was thinking about this and thinking about, because I have had more clarity in the last 3 weeks of my life about what I want to do and what I'm offering than I've had in the last decade. And I've been trying and trying and trying and frustrated. And, you know, I'm running, trying to think of a metaphor of like, you can't, I don't know if this is the best metaphor, but you can't get to the Tootsie Pop center without going through the outside. And once you get to the center and you're like, well, I could have gotten to the center a way better way if I had just done it this way. And you can sit and be angry about that and waste time doing that. If you're like, oh, I wasted time, I could have done it better, I could have been faster about it. Your anger about it, your frustration, and you're beating yourself up about it is wasting more time than being like, I learned so much from going around this way that I had to go around than I would have if I went straight. And that was valuable.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned going around, because that's exactly how, whenever I talk about the congruency system, I talk about a spiral.
Yeah.
Like it is, we, like our true self, our true who we are is in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And our experiences are about getting closer to it. And sometimes it feels like we're walking in circles because they're similar. But if we really take time to think, okay, what do I know now that I didn't know last time?
Yes.
Then we realize that we are like one step closer, right?
Exactly.
Going around, but one step closer, because at the end of the day, I feel like truth always attracts us. Who we are is always there.
Yep.
And we will get closer to it as long as we keep that in mind, as long as we remain true to ourselves, right? To this search.
Yep. Yeah, and actually that loops back to something that you said earlier that I think is really valuable that you were sort of asking me is us holding space, like our posture and how we just exist in the world. Did you say that earlier?
Yeah, we talk about proxemic and living in our own body. Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm even realizing lately like how much I sort of hunch my shoulders sometimes, or especially when I travel and I'm on a plane. This is where I notice it the most. Is I'm on a plane and you're sitting really close to somebody and you don't have very much space, and I'm like trying to make myself smaller, and I'm like, wow, I actually do that on a regular basis when I'm not on a plane? And why am I trying to make myself smaller in the world? You know, and I come into contact with people, with other people that I watch, and I'm like, that person is beautiful. And I don't know that you could take that same person and change just a couple of things, and they wouldn't be radiating the way that they're radiating. And something that literally in the past 2 weeks I've been noticing is that sometimes that's posture. It's literally somebody taking up the space that they want to, need to, can expand into in life, and they're walking around like that. And it is so powerful just to do that. Like taking up that self space that you can in the world and saying, no, this is how much space I take up, and I'm going to do it like this is like so powerful. Like I have goosebumps just saying that out loud. It's so amazing.
It is, and it is so true. I read about this experiment they did where exactly they asked people to like crouch and become small, and then they asked them to perform a challenging activity, and most of them didn't do it. And then they asked people to like exercise on opening their arms and like receiving energy. There was like a sequence of precisely occupying more space.
Yeah.
And they were very successful in the test.
Yeah.
So, and that's a study. What you say is absolutely true, and it's so important and valuable. Thank you for bringing it to the conversation. Just becoming aware of what space I'm occupying, right? And how am I occupying it?
Exactly. And to go back to what you said at the very beginning, the micro steps of that. Saying, you know what, I'm just going to sit up straight. You know what, when I walk into a room and I feel, you know, self-conscious or not the way that I want to feel, I'm just going to stand up straight. I'm not going to tell myself I'm wrong for being nervous. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to actually like make myself go talk to somebody this time. This time, I'm just going to stand up straight.
Yeah.
And next time, you know, maybe the standing up straight is easier and I'll make sure to introduce myself to someone, right? But those little things, just the small micro act of standing in that room as yourself is a different thing. And you have already shifted the dynamic of yourself and of others interacting with you when you do that. I mean, it's so powerful.
It is so powerful. Yes. Okay. So, and I was going to ask you this, what would you suggest? What ideas can you offer to anybody who is willing to make their space work for them in a way that helps them spark themselves, that help them hold space for their own exploration?
Yeah.
Just as you said now, like micro steps towards occupying the space differently. What else, Mandy?
So I think step one is to start, I mean, step one, before step one, don't buy anything. just wait. Don't go buy things and think it's going to fix it, because that's not the problem, right? So step one is before you move anything at all, be in your space as you do your life. I mean, you can go sit and give dedicated time to this, or you can just do it while you're washing the dishes. Like, how does, you know, you can be in your space while you're using it, but take mental time to reflect on if you actually like it. And that sounds like an easy question, but break it down. Like, oh no, I like it. I like my home. But we have a habit around it. We have a mental habit of what our brain like doesn't notice anymore, right? Like when you have people coming over and you're like, oh, I never noticed it got this bad, because your brain just suppresses, because it's habit, and habitually it's not going to see the detail anymore. So if you spend time in your spaces and intentionally see the details and say, okay, I'm just going to look at my paint color. How do I like it? If I just look at that paint color, how does it make me feel? And it might, I don't know, I've been told like, oh, I don't know how it makes me feel. It's a color. Well, but it does have an effect on you.
Yes, it is a color.
Exactly. If you
so
give it space. Oh my gosh, yeah, and colors. I mean, I could talk about that forever. Colors are so powerful. But if you know, break it down and say, how does this paint color? How do I feel when I look at that? Your dishes, you know, since we're talking about the kitchen, your dishes, when I touch them and I hold them, do I like the weight? Do I like the color? Do I like the texture of them? Does it make me feel good? Or do I just own them because that's what I bought and they were on sale? And there's a powerful element to saying, I chose this thing. And it doesn't matter if it was IKEA. I have some things that I've bought at IKEA. I'm like, this was the best purchase ever. IKEA is brilliant. Every time I come into contact with this, it makes me feel good. And then there are some things that, you know, I bought because I needed something in that spot, or I needed this plate, or I needed a chair in the corner. And I bought it because it was there and it was cheap and I needed the thing. And really, when I look at it, I start to notice, yeah, that just looks cheap to me. And again, it's not about actually being cheap, right? It's about the feeling. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel resonant and deep and juicy and whatever I want it to feel. Like maybe I want it to feel cozy. So that would be step 2. Okay. So step 1 is like notice, just notice and take notes and just really, I would say if you have other people, ask them to notice too and say, if we didn't own that, would you buy it again? Do I really like it? Mm-hmm. And then step 2, again, no buying. Step 2 is to start noticing what you really do like. And that can be in your house, but it can also be anywhere. So with step 2, I send people to Pinterest a lot because there's so much there. Yeah. And the beauty of that is that, you know, I have I call it your visual mantra board. And you can watch my TED Talk for that, like a little bit. But when you're doing your visual mantra board, you're not looking through Pinterest and saying, I want to buy this sofa. I'm going to pick this paint color. You're going through and you're like, this picture makes me feel happy. This color makes me feel joyous. And maybe it's, you know, maybe it's a color in a landscape. This is something that is not about how you're incorporating it into your house. It's about tapping into the feeling you want to feel when you come home. Yeah. So if you can gather those together, gather those things, the colors, the shapes, the textures, and get them all in one place, which makes Pinterest really easy. What it does is it starts helping you recognize what lights those pieces of you up. And so once you know what's not working and you know what does work, then you can actually start to shift. And I would say step 3 is the purge. Like, do the Marie Kondo and say, does this bring me joy? And if it does not, get it out of there. You know, like I purged my closet about a month ago, and I had 5 garbage bags of stuff that I was like, okay, I got to get rid of these. And I kind of tried to sell them, and they didn't really want them. And I was going to take them to Goodwill or whoever. And I had a friend that said, well, no, I would love to look through your clothes. Bring them on over. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah, I'll get rid of what you don't want. I would just value being able to go through them. And so I had another friend who went over to that friend's house and picked up the rest of it and went through that. And I've seen these girls, you know, a number of times, and I'm telling you 9 times out of 10, since I've given them the clothes, they're wearing something that I had. And it makes me so happy. It's not sitting in my closet anymore, not getting used. These people are loving it, and they're like expressing themselves with this. So it feels easier to do your purging if you can understand that as, this is taking up space in my life and doing me, it's a detriment to me, but it might be a positive thing for someone else. And so if I can get it out of my space and into somebody else's, it's doing more good. Yes, and holding it here is not only doing me a detriment, but somebody else who could use it. Yeah.
We used to do clothes swap when I lived in Madrid. And it was like the funnest day in the year. We used to do 2 every year. Yep. Yeah, it was like that. You brought 2 or 3 garments that you didn't wear anymore. Yeah. And you would take tickets for it, and you will get, you know, you would leave with 2 or 3 new garments to wear. And yeah, I totally hear that. And that is also something that I find very valuable from what you're saying, everything, but specifically this awareness of what we are not using, what we are not bringing into life, can always be of help or value for somebody else. And that's like the ultimate generosity, right? Just being aware of that. That I feel it's a crucial step to switch from being a consumer into being a producer.
Exactly.
Right? A creator.
A recirculator. Exactly. Yes. Yep. Yeah. That's so valuable.
That's awesome. Mandy, thank you. So 1, become aware, right? observe, notice, experiment.
Yeah. And notice, there's one other thing about that is you don't just have to notice in your own home. I love going to restaurants and like the new cool places, and I don't go to them because they're the new cool places. I go to them because I like that they're experimenting with the surroundings and the vibe and the feel. And so do that too. Go use your surroundings and say, when I spend time at the DMV, I don't feel good. It doesn't feel happy to me. Why doesn't it feel happy? Well, it's sterile and it's cold. You know, what are the elements that don't feel good? And start to notice the pieces so that when you're creating something that does, or when you go out and you like it, start noticing the pieces so that you can keep incorporating those and integrating them into what you're creating.
Yeah, that is so important. People who are looking to move, I always suggest them to go and really spend a couple of days where they're looking, where
and in
they're
the
looking
neighborhood
around.
too. In the neighborhood too, yeah. Yep.
Neighborhood. And you know, are you a mountain people and you're moving to a really flat space? So what are you going to do about it, right? How are you going to adjust to this new environment? And what can you find that will feel something comforting for the transition?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Or I mean, I am known for leaving towns just because it didn't feel right.
Oh yeah, I completely get that.
And
there are places that I visit and I drive through and I'm like, wow, I could never ever live here.
Yeah.
and it's no, you know, judgment on the place.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't work.
It doesn't resonate with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so I just want to summarize to make sure that I got all your steps. So first, notice.
Just notice.
Step two is ask yourself again, like, would you...
Step two is start pulling together what feels amazing.
Oh,
like,
the Pinterest boards.
Observe it, right? And gather it. And again, it's everything. It's concepts, colors, images. It's not like I'm going to buy this thing.
Yeah, stay away from buying for now. So notice, start to gather what possibilities, can we call them like that? Start to connect possibilities and try them on. And then, I'm sorry?
You want to gather the feelings. This makes me feel good. This makes me feel powerful. Like that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
That's when you were talking about the textures and the colors and the feelings, right? Not necessarily the exact picture, or the exact furniture, but like the atmosphere that it represents.
Exactly.
Notice, collect feelings and possibilities, textures, and 3,
purge
before buying anything else.
Yeah. Make space before you create space. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Make the possibility. And then I would say, like we said, you know, what are we on 5? I would say the next thing is to give yourself just a little bit of time to sit in that. Once you purge, don't fill that immediately. Just pause. Purge and then pause and be like, I have space. And there's so much possibility in that sometimes we find there's something we wanted that never came to the forefront because there was never space physically or mentally for it to come forward. You know, it's like that shy kid in the back of the room that has the right answer, but you never noticed because you were too busy like doing stuff, right?
Yes.
So give it some time. Purge and then pause is what I would say. And I've never said that before, but I like it, so I'm using it again. Yeah, purge and then pause.
Purge and then pause. And then while you pause, start thinking of what you want to create.
Yeah, right? Start planning and don't feel like you have to act. So maybe those are our P's, right? Purge and then pause and then plan. And you don't have to move on it right away. You can literally pull up an internet window of a pillow and be like, I love this pillow. I'm going to buy it. Okay, awesome. Just don't buy it yet. Look at it and then look at it tomorrow and then wait a week and look at it again and be like, are you still as happy as you were the first time you looked at this pillow? Maybe it's great and go do it, right? Like plan and plan financially. Say, okay, I'm going to do this in phases so that it actually makes sense and it's realistic. Because just doing this all as an overhaul and being like, I'm going to spend all this money, it's going to make me so happy and successful, and then I'll be able to pay myself back, that's probably not the most realistic way to do it. Yes. You know? Yeah. Yes. So do it in phases. Like I would love to overhaul the office I'm sitting in right now, and you can't see the whole thing, but this paint color just went up last week and I'm really excited about it, and the rest of it still needs some help. So,
Yeah.
you know, like bit by bit, you can start moving forward. And what's nice is you start noticing those pieces that we did at the beginning. I paint this and I notice other things around me. Oh, wow, I really hate that, because I took the time to do that in the step one, right? Mm-hmm. And then I start noticing, oh, you know what? That thing over there, I still really like that. So that's a part of step two of like, I know what feels good. I know what resonates and feels awesome to me, so that thing's staying, you know?
Yeah. Yes, and also I feel it's important to imagine the future. Like, okay, if you're planning on buying the pillow, right?
Yeah.
Think, like, see yourself. Mm-hmm. See yourself hugging the pillow, or see yourself sitting on the couch next to the pillow. And just, I have a friend, Christina Ball, who I love how she phrases it. It's sometimes we need to rehearse the future.
Yes, I love that
phrasing. Happen, right? It's
so good
to practice, and to that same idea. We're coming back to the idea of just fit it in, like try it on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what that actually brings up is super important. Is that you kind of touched on this? You're not actually buying the pillow. You're buying the cozy that you think the pillow is going to bring, right? Or you're buying. You're not buying the sofa. You're buying a place to do story time with your kids. You're buying a place to have book club with your friends. That's what you're buying. And so you want to make sure that monetarily you're not, meaning that you can't, you know, you have to work so much because you bought this sofa that you can't have story time with your son, you know. But you also, emotion wise, like, are you doing it because you want to show the friends that you have a cool place for book club? Like, is it, you know, like this gets into a whole other like realm of selection, but you're actually just being aware that you're not really buying the sofa. You're buying what you think it's going to give you. So ask yourself that question. When I buy this, what do I think I'm getting from it? And really assess if it's going to help you have that or not. When I buy this pillow, I think it's going to give me a little happy thought every time I walk past the sofa on the way to the kitchen, because I love the green color so much, and I'm going to, like, my inside is going to smile just a little bit. Is that what I think I'm going to get out of it? That's probably pretty realistic, right? Yeah. And so then that's a good reason to move forward with it.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your purpose, right? Why are you doing this?
Right. Your purpose. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, Mandy, thank you so much for this. I love it. Like, I feel I've traveled around cities and houses and spaces just in these few minutes with you. Thank you so much for your time, for your ideas, for everything.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Can I tell about my new course?
Absolutely. That's what's like. What would you like to say? What would you like to share?
So excited. Yeah, I'm so excited. So I do have a course called Design Your Life. Man, I can't even remember. I have a course that's kind of what we just talked about with your home, but I've just created a brand new course. Just finished it yesterday. That is really how to tap into yourself and your own power. It's going to be called Naked Self, I think. And it's how you get down to that naked self that you are, and really appreciate it and love it for who it is, and understand how powerful it is, so that you can be that person. It's 4 weeks. It's going to be unbelievable. And there's a lot of good content. So if I don't have the landing page yet, I mean, like, this is brand spanking new, but people could email me at hello@mandystraight.com. HELLO at MANDYSTRAIGHT, mandystraight.com. If they have questions, they want to be on the list, that would be a great place to contact me and get all the information.
Yes, absolutely. And I will be posting links to your TED Talk, to your webpage, on the description of this show. And of course, please contact Mandy and create the space for your well-being. Yes.
I love it. Make some space for yourself.
Oh, yes. We need that. We
do.
That.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you so much again. This has been so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, this was Mandy Straight and Tanya Gerard, your congruency coach. This was a new episode of Conversations on Congruency. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.